15 minutes out of your lunch hour every day, call somebody who's in your contacts. Doesn't matter who it is. Call them. It's going to be nerve-wracking, and you have a conversation with them about what you're trying to do, wherever you're trying to grow. And they may look at you and say, that's great. You want to go watch the game or whatever. Like, they're just not into it, and that's fine. Right. But then if they're not, even if they are, then you ask them, hey, who do you know that I should be talking to grow in this area? And then guess what? Tomorrow you're going to spend 15 minutes. You're going to call that one person. Right. And you keep doing this every day for 6 months. And then you redo the growth friend exercise again and see what your list looks like. Not only is your list going to look different, but what you're stuck with is going to be way in your rearview mirror.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Lifeonaires Show podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaires Show, we help people make more, work less, and live awesome lives. I am joined by my co-host. You may be surprised by this, and his name is Polish Peter. What's up, man?
Why would they be surprised by that?
Because I haven't fired you yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
especially sounding like a run-over cat.
Well, I just got... I went and got myself a better sounding voice. I think it's sexier now than what I sound. The accent that I think is more improved, I think. I don't know.
Well, I don't know about that, man, but usually I will just say this and then we're going to move on. Usually the voice changes that you're going on, you're experiencing right now happen when you're like, 11 or 12 or 13 years old. It's late for you. That's totally cool. Don't worry about it.
Maybe I'm going through puberty. Hey, it's all good, man. I'm game. I can be 13 years old again. It's all good. So listen, let's talk about the
let's talk about the
episode.
podcast. Like this is a serious episode. We're talking with Jay Helms from W2 Capitalist. It's a really cool episode. Here's a guy who travels essentially half the year, runs his business successfully. He has a super cool story about leaving corporate America. He had a job for over 20 years and decides like this wasn't for him, and he makes the jump. And we'll tell you more about that. You'll hear the story during the episode, how that happened. But there's some really cool nuggets in here to share.
Yeah, so I want you guys to listen to it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because you might be, I don't know where you're at in your journey right now, but you went from W2 to owning a successful company where he gets to travel all over the place. How did he do it? And there's two big takeaways that I want you to listen to. One about the community he talks about. And the second thing, at one point in that podcast, we talk about, he shares an exercise that he has them people to do to come into the community that you can do yourself. And it takes like 15 minutes. But it's a pretty impactful exercise to help you, especially if you're feeling stuck or if you're feeling like, I don't know how to grow. This exercise, I think it will kind of help you get out of that stuckness to be able to grow in life. So check that out and take action on it.
Yeah, dude, that was an awesome exercise that he mentioned. Let's go right now. Here's our interview with Jay Helms. Jay, what's up, man? Welcome to Lifeonaires Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks. Great to meet you too, Peter. I only know one other Polish guy, and Jason got to meet him earlier. So
you're going to be disappointed because up to this point, Jay, like your only experience with Polish people has been positive, and now you have Polish Peter, so it's you just split the seas right here.
Listen, let him do his own judgment. Don't start to try to influence him in some shape or form. This is coming from a Polish wannabe anyway. You can't even pronounce your last name right. So I mean,
I can. It's a Pocho.
That podcast is going out in a completely just wrong rabbit hole.
We're starting off.
Let's start
in the right way.
Right. So Peter, I had a chance to talk with Jay's group earlier today. Really bright, energetic, great group of folks. And Jay runs a group called W2 Capitalist, and we connected actually a while ago. And a lot of his beliefs and his story just resonated so much with, I know, what our audience has gone through or is going through. And so I had to get him on the show. And so Jay, you have this, I want you to tell a story about you had the story of working in corporate America, and you made these changes and I want you to kind of unpack that for us and give us the background as to why you're doing what you're doing now and some of the pain points and some of the things you went through to get there.
Yeah. So, in college, I was going to college for a computer science degree, and you go through these exercises where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and I want to be VP, right? I want to be a VP of some big organization and whatnot. And then I got into the real world and worked for a startup. I was employee number 5. Well, fast forward a few years, we had built that company up to about 6 million in annual revenue, and we had about 30 employees. And that business got sold. Really horrible acquisition. There's a lot of promises that were made. Basically, we got bought by a group that was backed by a hedge fund. And if you've ever had any experience with that, it's all about the bottom dollar, right? And so it was a very bad experience. There was what I call the trifecta event, right? There was the acquisition that happened. 2 months before that, we found out that we were pregnant with kid number 1. And then 4 months prior to that, we got married. And so I had this all like a lot of emotions I've never tapped into or never been exposed to were happening all at once. And, we're laying there one night, it's like, and we're living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, and I'm making over 6 figures, right? And it's like, what am I doing wrong? I don't feel like I'm leading our soon to be expanding family. And how do rich people become wealthy, right? And so break out Google, find Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then and then we just say, okay, well, investing is what we're doing, right? And so not having any idea what we were going after, over the next 6 months, my wife and I focused on finding our very first, what we would consider our first single family rental. And we closed on it 3 weeks. My son was 3 weeks old. So kid number 1, 3 weeks old, got his first closing, right? And so we had such good success with that. We're like, all right, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And then so I was taking whatever money I could from my W-2 job and the rental income that we had from our one property, and we were just saving it up to buy our next one and the next one and next one. And we bought a handful that way, and then we're like, all right, we got to go bigger. And so then we started exploring partnerships and multifamilies and whatnot, all while still working a W-2 job, right? And then and the reason I started the community is because remember, I'm a computer science guy. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to strangers. I don't like being around people that I don't really know. And so I had the job I had at the time was very much virtual. It was, I was Zooming before COVID, basically. And so that led me to learn about building an online platform, a community. And it started out with just a handful of guys. And we started brainstorming and basically created a mastermind. And that has now grown since then, since 2018. It's really blossomed into what you saw today and even more, right? And for clarity, Jason presented to the W2 Capitalist community earlier that they were recording this podcast.
I feel for your audience.
No. He really, man, Jason, you got to put up with this all the time.
I know, right? Like, what is this?
But yeah, so we just kept buying rentals with cash flow. Like we were living off my salary, and everything we were making off our rental properties was going right back into buying more and more rental properties. Well, then COVID happened. Right. And I started this journey because I hated my job. It was introducing levels of stress that I'd never had been exposed to, nor wanted to, because I'm thinking, man, I'm about to get laid off. My wife's pregnant, like, about to have another mouth to feed. What's happening here? And it got to the point where our rental income had built up enough to where I didn't care if I was going to get fired. Well, it turned out that made me a better employee. Like I actually enjoyed what I was doing because there was no more pressure to financially provide for the family because the rental properties we knew would take care of that. And then in COVID, like a lot of companies did, the company I was working for at the time laid off 10%. I was part of that cut. And, I tried to negotiate with my boss at times. Look, man, I was like, I don't really need the money. I was like, what if I just work for stock? Because I felt like there was something going on, like they were trying to sell the company later. And he was like, we can't do that. It's a publicly traded company, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, I got laid off. I go and tell my wife, this is 5 minutes after the conversation, right? I've only been fired one other time. I told somebody the other day, I've never been fired before, but that is not true. In college, I got fired from a job. But this is, that was 20 something years ago. Right. And I didn't have kids. By this time, we have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and about to be 1. And I go to my wife 5 minutes after this phone call with my boss, where he's giving me the pink slip, and I said, "Hey, that was my boss. Here's the deal," and she starts smiling. She goes, "Great, now we can travel like we've always wanted to." And I'm like, wait, like I'd lost sight of things. I'm like,
Hey, wait, what? What?
wait a minute. Like, that's like 6-figure income that's just gone. And you're like, great, now we can just go travel. And so it took me some time to warm up to it, but she was right. It was time for us to go travel. So the house that I'm sitting in now, we consider our primary house, but for the last 3 years, we've only been in it 6 months out of the year. And the rest of the time we're out traveling. We just got back we spent 3 weeks in near Banff, in Alberta, Canada, and the Canadian Rockies. Before that, we were, where were we? Northeast Georgia, visiting family and getting a lot of, valuable family time in. And so we've kind of adopted this nomadic lifestyle of, all right, we're going to be gone in the springtime and the summertime, and because the fall and winters are really nice here in the Panhandle of Florida, we'll be here, right? And so it has really transitioned, and it's one of those things when you initially become an entrepreneur, and I am thankful for the push, right? Because I don't think I would ever had the guts to do it, and I envy those guys who eventually say, "The heck with this, I'm going to go do my own thing." But I am forever thankful for that's happened because of the amount of memories that we've created. I mean, we've drug our kids over, I don't know. My wife and I argue about if we drive through a state, does that count? Like, can we mark it off the map? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, no, we've either got to spend the night or it's got to be a meaningful experience. And so she's winning that argument. And so right now, after 3 years of doing this, we've had a meaningful experience in over half the U.S. and at least one province in Canada. And the amount of memories and things that we've made with our kids is just, and we homeschool. So we homeschool and they're around us 24/7. Right. And so the calendar thing you shared with us earlier, I was like, there's some me time. Like I've got to figure out how to get some me time on my calendar with everything. Because we with the 3 and girls are different. I didn't grow up with a sister, so I'm learning. Emotions start young. But yeah, that's so we got into it with the idea that I was going to leave the W-2 world eventually. Initially thought I was going to be on my own, but I eventually just got kicked out and haven't looked back.
Man,
it was one of those things where I kind of burned the bridges. I was doing a lot of stuff on YouTube then to try to grow the W-2 capitalist, and I made an episode said I'm never going back to the W-2 world. And I had this recruiter call me because I was managing a sales team at the time, and a lot of my team got laid off as well, and so they put me down as a reference for their next job, and I got a couple calls. And one of the recruiters called me and we talked about the person, and she goes, "What about you? What are you going to do? You got laid off as well?" I was like, "Yep, that is." She goes, and I started telling my story. She goes, "Oh, you're the guy who said he's never going back to the W-2 world." I was like, "Yes, that's me."
you're like, okay,
I
well,
burned the bridges.
that's settled. That's
yeah.
settled. Well,
Yeah.
so dude, well, listen, like, I think there's a lot of people out there that have to kind of be pushed over the edge. Like, they're looking down, they want to jump, but just that nudge sometimes. Cause like, and so I think that's fair to say, like, and so, but what's been remarkable about your story and why I think it's so cool is like in a very short period of time. I mean, is it 328 units you have now? Is that accurate?
We have bought and sold and done a bunch of other stuff. I'm loving the more passive side of it.
Yeah.
So, we at one point in time we had 328. We sold off a lot of it. I don't even know the number that we're in right now.
Okay.
Like I know, because some of the stuff we've done has been as a limited partner, and I used to be one of these guys where I would say, "Hey, I've got," I'd be part of a 50 unit syndication or 100-unit syndication. I've got 100 units. Like, no, I don't. I've got like 1% of 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know the actual number off the top of my head because we've been doing a lot of different transactions in the last year or so. But our investing experience has been, GP on a syndication, LP on a couple of syndications, joint venture on some apartment complexes. Most of our stuff has been small to medium buy and hold, single family and apartment complexes. And then we've done recently loving getting into private and hard money lending because that is, you're basically the bank, and there's nothing really more passive than that. And there's no tenants that I have to deal with.
Right. So well, here's the thing too, is like, especially and it sounds like you've set up your business obviously in a way that allows you all this freedom and flexibility to travel. And so was there a deliberate kind of, because I see two things here. Sometimes people choose a specific business because it is interesting to them, or they just think it's going to give them the life they want, or maybe they just choose it by accident and then they just learn to kind of like tweak the operations so that they can travel and stuff. But, I know a lot of people that have portfolios or that lend or that whatever, but they still don't seem to have the time and the flexibility to homeschool, to raise a family, to travel. Like, so how have you managed to do that?
My wife. She.
So they just gotta get together with your wife. Is that what you're saying? Like,
No. It's sorry, that's not available. She's awesome. She, I jokingly call her our CFO, our chief family officer, right? And so she does the homeschooling with the kids. Now I'm the disruptor, right? And I'll come in, they'll be in a session and I'll get excited about them learning something and just disrupt class or whatever. I'm also the enforcer, right? So when they're like the principal walking the hallway, basically. But she handles that. And when we first started traveling, I felt the need that I needed to have some input on where we were going. I don't know why. There were some things I wanted to do, I guess. But as we've gotten into this and I've realized that she's really good at finding places that fit our budget, and really the two things that I need is we need to be in budget, and we need that wherever we're staying has a cable internet connection. Other than that, I do not care. I mean, we've got certain things, like we have certain days that are travel days because of if we're driving a long distance or whatnot, because I know I'm not going to have any calls on that day. Right. And so, it just, that way I don't have to stress about anything like that. But really it's when we get there, when we're traveling, it's not like I'm on vacation all the time. I usually have a, normal work day, for what my normal work day consists of. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. And so what I'm hearing is you've kind of delegated some of those responsibilities, which sounds like she enjoys anyway. So this is a cool thing, because in a lot of couples, I've seen this happen before where the husband maybe wants the wife to work in the business and doing things that he doesn't want to do. Like, well, she doesn't really want to do it either. And so that's not a good fit. And so you guys have kind of focused on your strength zones so that you guys can be most effective in the place where you want to be. And so what is a typical work, how many hours would you say you're putting in? And is this mostly, and how do you divide that? As far as you have your investments, you're doing lending, and then you're also building out the community. Where have you seen yourself spending the most time, and where is it starting to kind of make sense for you as far as where you see yourself going with this?
Yeah. So how does it look? It looks like a pinball right now. That's why when you shared that earlier about with the calendar and putting out, specific things you want to do, and then the rest of it's business. Right now, it's a little bit of a pinball situation. But the lending business is relatively new, and it came out of a need for the community. We had, I got tired of hearing community members finding really great deals and us underwriting together and be like, oh yeah, that's just not smoke and mirrors. That's actually a really good deal. And I was like, well, when are you going to close on it? I'm like, well, I can't figure out funding for this. I need to go find, they didn't know how to navigate hard money or private money. So I heard that enough that I eventually partnered with one of our original members of our community and said, hey, what do you think about us starting this? And so that now has been a great asset to our, not only our community, but other people who are just in our real estate investing, network of connection. Right. And so, but it doesn't take a lot of my time. I probably should focus more on that, because the more people I talk to, the more I realize there is a need and whatnot. But I spend most of my time on building the community. And how many hours a week, I am afraid to tell you. I mean, I'm afraid to guess, but you were talking about earlier, when most entrepreneurs start, you work harder and longer hours. I'm guilty of it. I enjoy it because, with our community, we've had, the last, here's some stats that we've been able to pull, is that over 80% of our members who come in within the first year, they double their portfolio based on things that we teach and things that we show. Right. And it's really driven by the community. It's not really, here's the secret. We're not really teaching anything. We just got a really good group of people who want to help each other. Right. And so there's that. And then usually we've had about 10 people reach their financial freedom number because of the things they're doing inside, that we're teaching inside the community. So they hit it usually within year 3 or 5, are really focused on investing, where they can retire, or they can retire their spouse or whatnot. And then, that increases family time. And that's what's really energizing for me, is because it is sucking up a lot of my time to figure out how to grow it and what the community needs. But it's that end result. People like I feel like our life is normal, but everybody I talk to will say you don't live a normal life.
Right.
Like most people don't, but to us it is normal. And then they focus on, well, how do you stick to a schedule with the kids? Like, how do your kids are adapting to this lifestyle? I'm like, better than us. Like, like they're resilient, and to them it's normal. To them, this is norm for them, which,
that's how they've been raised in that environment, I think, right? With you. Yeah.
It is. And they have different struggles than other kids. Like while we're here, they've got some friends that live down the street, and, we're already on summer break because of homeschool. Like they're done.
Right.
They were done last week of April. And, now that we're back in town, they're like, I want to go play with so-and-so. Well, he's at school, he won't be out, and then he's probably got some obligations or whatever, but it's just a different norm, but to us it's normal.
Hey, we'll get right back to our episode, but before we do that, we want to tell you about something super special and important that I want to make sure you know about, and that is our Lifeonaire events. There are 2 in particular that I want to draw your attention to. One is called the Get a Life Getaway, and we've been doing this for almost 15 years now. Peter and I have been doing this together for about 8 years together, and then we have our Business Builder Workshop. And this is why it's so important, because if you don't have the ideal life you want, guess what you need? A vision. A vision is something that we create at the Get a Life Getaway. And listen, it takes us a full 3 days to do that. And so we've been doing this for so long. We've refined the process. We've perfected it. We've walked almost 10,000 people through this process, and we want to show you this process. Now, you can probably try and do it on your own, but why would you try and reinvent the wheel? Let the experts, let us hold you hand in hand through this process. Peter and I teach these personally. You're getting this right from us. And that's the first part of this equation. Now, the second part is like, hey, let's say you decide that you want to work 20 hours a week and you need to make $100,000 to live your vision. Well, guess what? We teach you at the Business Builder Workshop. Exactly that. We will walk you hand in hand and show you our proven process to remove you from your business, to help you make the money you want, to enable you to own your business rather than have it own you. Peter, these events are awesome, man.
Oh yeah, we do these throughout the event, throughout the years, and we're doing them throughout the country. So head over to one of these events, because you'll be surprised how amazing it is to write your vision for your life. I wish somebody would have told me this 10 years ago to do that. When I came here to this country, I had no freaking clue what a vision is, whether to actually write it. So the fact that you're sitting here on this podcast and hearing this message, I would encourage you that this is something that you would go ahead and do that sooner than later. So how do they go about doing that, Bojo?
Well, and Peter, not only that, but we have a very special offer for them. because you are a loyal podcast listener. I know you're tuning in every single week, hanging on every word. You've given us reviews,
especially
ratings, thumbs up, told your parents about it, your mom, your dad, your dog, your neighbor. We are giving you a 50% off, 50% off special offer. So you'll go and choose either the Business Builder Workshop or the Get a Life Getaway. Like Peter said, we do these all over the country. We do about a half dozen of these events per year. And when you check out, after you choose which event you want to attend, then you will enter the promo code PODCAST. PODCAST. Podcast is your promo code. You'll instantly get 50% off. And we will see you at an event soon. Now, here's my advice. Don't wait to attend this. Don't wait to register. Put it on the calendar now. Go right now. Pause the podcast if you have to. Go open a browser. Go to lifeonaire.com. Enter that podcast promo code at checkout, and we will see you at an event soon. Let's get back to the episode.
So listen, Jay, I got a few questions for you because I'm sitting here and I'm like, listening to your story. I mean, it's pretty impactful stuff, man. I mean, you were like W-2 employee, then, you got a wife, she's newborns on the way, and now you're kind of freaking out because of like, how am I going to be able to do this, provide, grow that family?
Yeah.
And then there is the company and, like what you're working at, and you start trying to grow the business, which that's, you have different circumstances, but I think that speaks to a lot of people to be able to go through that kind of a thing. And now you've built out the business. So now you can actually travel. You have passive income. So sitting back, looking back at your entire story, from when you were a W-2 employee, what do you think were like top 2-3 things that you were or you did that helped you along that? Because there was plenty of people who were struggling. They were stuck in this. They can't move to the next level kind of a thing, right? So what do you think your top 2-3 things? Like somebody's listening on the call right now, they're wondering like, okay, well, Jay can do it, but I don't know if I can.
Well, listen, one thing, if I can do it, anybody can, right? Like I'm a C plus, that may be stretching it, student. I graduated with 2.7 GPA. And so, but there is a drive there. There's drive to do something different, right? But to answer your question, the main thing, and goes back to the reason why I wanted to start building the community, virtual communities, because I knew I needed to tap into other people. And there's an exercise that I go through with prospects who are coming to our community. And I got this from, it eventually goes back to Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, right? But it's what I call the growth friends exercise. And I had this conversation with a guy yesterday. He's struggling. He's got 6 rentals. And he feels like he's stuck. And I was like, all right, here, we're going to do this quick exercise. It's going to take maybe 5 minutes. I was like, get out a sheet of paper. To top of it, on the left-hand column, you're going to put growth friends. And on the right-hand column, you're going to label it maintenance relationships. And we were doing this over Zoom. And I said, okay, now grab your phone and go to your most recent phone calls. And we're going to go down through your 25 most recent phone calls. And if you talk to that person about growing, he's talking about growing his real estate portfolio. If you talk to that person ever, not just this one time, but this ever about growing your real estate portfolio, you put them in the growth friends column. If you've never talked to them about it, then they go in the maintenance relationships column. And he just starts giggling. And I was like, you may tell you what your sheet of paper looks like? And he goes, yeah. He goes, there's one person on that list out of my 25 most recent calls that was in the growth friends column. I was like, and so we went through this, and it's just that sense of community, and you guys probably feel this too, but that sense of community and knowing that other people are experiencing the exact same thing you are, just being able to vocalize it is kind of step one, right? Get it out. Hey, I'm struggling with this. Oh yeah, me too. Or I've been through that before. Here's how I navigated it. Maybe it'll help you. And just surrounding myself with people, constantly a lot of people say investing in yourself, but investing in who you spend your time around with. And so my challenge for this young guy and anybody who's struggling, it doesn't matter what you're struggling with, you feel stuck and fill in the blank, right? Is take 15 minutes out of your lunch hour every day, call somebody who's in your contacts. Doesn't matter who it is, call them. It's going to be nerve-wracking. First phone call is going to suck. You're going to sound like, like you're crying about whatever the issue is. I'm telling you, that's okay. and you have a conversation with them about what you're trying to do, wherever you're trying to grow. And they may look at you and say, that's great. You want to go watch the game or whatever. Like, they're just not into it, and that's fine. Right. But then if they're not, even if they are, then you ask them, hey, who do you know that I should be talking to grow in this area? And then guess what? Tomorrow you're going to spend 15 minutes, you're going to call that one person, right? And you keep doing this every day for 6 months. And then you redo the growth friend exercise again and see what your list looks like. Not only is your list going to look different, but what you're stuck with is going to be way in your rearview mirror, right? And so that's the biggest thing. You asked for 3, but that's it. If you can just focus on doing that one thing, you're going to get unstuck, right?
Dude, that's gold. I mean,
Dude,
you're not
that is
just a pretty
huge.
face. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. No,
Dude,
but
it's-
listen, think about it this way. Entrepreneurs, aren't we put ourselves in the silos, right?
Yeah. Well, I do it. I mean, I expressed to Jason earlier when we were chatting, not on this podcast, but I was like, what do you do for guys? And I'm raising my hand here who struggle with asking for help. Cause that's me. Like, I struggle for asking for help because there's too much pride. There's too much, wanting to feel like I'm, not necessarily better than it, but I don't want other people to see that I'm going through that. But those moments of
Mhm.
clarity, when I get vulnerable, when I share, I usually make the most gains, and the person on the other end usually gets something out of it too.
Yeah. But
Yeah, dude, this is like this is so. I think you hit the nail on the head, Jay. Like, where, that's one thing we've seen within Lifeonaire, for instance, and you're reaffirming it. Like, it's so important as to who you're around, because sometimes even witnessing other people's transformation gives you the opportunity to let your own guard down or to share your own vulnerabilities, and somebody else sharing something they're struggling with is kind of like, wow, okay, man, and sometimes you're like, man, I don't have it that bad, or
Yeah.
or wow, if they can do it, I can do it, or like, gosh, it just like, and there's this level of, I think, what you said, I like the term growth friends, and I'm as you say growth friends, I'm like thinking growth friends and nope friends, and
you say
as-
growth friends or girlfriends?
I'm married, bro. Sorry, Peter. So like it's so, that's like, I think, like the secret sauce, and that's why likely you've kind of put this group together, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
just it's not just about helping other people, but it's about getting the help and seeing it as well. It's very, very collaborative and mutually beneficial.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have another question for you, because you said talk about asking for help. That this is
Yeah.
for us, it's hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
How are you able to overcome that to be able to actually go ask for help?
Well, I am not. I need to get more consistent at it. And so there's I can't remember who said this. I'm trying to think who said it. I think I want to give credit to Ryan Mickler, but I'm not sure that he's the one that says this. But courage yields action, and action yields confidence, right? So at some point in time, you've got to have the courage to take the action. And then once you take the action, you're going to realize that scary monster that you built up in your head, or at least I do, is not that scary. And then you boost your self-confidence. And so I'm working on it. There are still things that I hold very, close to the heart. Don't share with anybody, except for my wife. And sometimes then it's like, man, I'm supposed to be the leader of the family, and I'm struggling with this. How is she going to take it? And then I build this thing up, and then we eventually have a chat, which is really difficult with 3 kids under 9. And so, yeah, it's finding the courage to just start the conversation. Right. And I don't know how to help people with that, because I struggle with it too, other than just to tell them, hey, it's not that big of a deal. There was somebody who recently, I referenced something they said in a post, and they got very angry with me. And she was like, I can't believe you, people are going to look down. I was like, look, nobody knows that was you. Like, and also I have a management principle that once is an anomaly, two is a pattern, and three is a trend. And so you manage the trends, you pay attention to the patterns, but you ignore the anomalies. I was like, in this case, you're the fourth person that said that. Or I don't remember the number was, but it was way trending. And I was like, so the only person that knows that you were part of that, because I didn't name anybody, I was like, was you. Like, and so, but it's finding, and I don't know why I didn't went down that rabbit hole, but basically it's finding the courage to take that action. And once you find the courage, then you're going to have your confidence is going to be boosted. And there's another, I had a coach at one point in time, and, you hear all this about, growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Right. And so in my mind, that means you're always outside of your comfort zone. And I had this coach one time, he goes, no. He goes, what you do is you run to the edge of your comfort zone. You're going to freak out for just a little bit. And then you take a step back. Now, guess what? You're now in your comfort zone, but you're on the edge of it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But where you were, you've come a long way. Right. And he goes, then eventually you just repeat that process and you run to the new horizon, whatever that is. And then you take a step back. That way you're just not living always in stress and anxiety of being in the uncomfortable zone or the growth zone. But yeah, it's finding the courage. And I don't have a good answer for that one.
No, I think you pretty much said it, because I think one of the things I'm hearing from you, you're a pretty humble man. Because I'm serious, man, because like you keep talking about like, I don't know, like this is not an accident that you become so successful, I think. And I think the community, that you've built is a testament to be able to go and say, listen, it's so important to be around the people that you want to emulate, that you want to grow with, that you want to, maybe support, that you want to give back to them, and they give back to you as well, right?
Yeah.
So the community is there. And I think it helps you build that courage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and I feel bad. Sometimes we had one of our mastermind calls Tuesday night, right? And we're in the part of the cycle, the market cycle, where prices are real high, interest rates are real high, sellers are not coming off their price to reflect, cash flowing investment properties for most that fit most people's criteria that I run into. And so we're changing our focus to seller financing 0% down, right? And I actually have an opportunity that I've been looking at, or actually I've been looking at it, and I am meeting the owners on Monday. So we're recording this on Thursday. We're meeting on Monday, and we got on the call Tuesday night, and I said, "Hey guys, I got this deal. You want to talk about it?" And I was like, it has seller financing potential. Like, here's my conversation with the owner so far. And one of our members, Brody, stepped up, and he was on the call today, Jason, with, and he goes, "Hey, you want to role play this?" And I was like, sure. Like, instantly I got nervous, right? Because I'm like, I'm the leader of the group. I should know how to do this. Like, I don't know how to do that. I've never closed a seller financing deal as a buyer. And so we role played it for about an hour, and there was a handful of other people on there. And it was one of the most impactful sessions we've had in a long time. And I'm going to take a lot of that comes out of it and into our conversation on Monday when we go and walk the properties. And so part of me is like, I got all the benefit out of that call Tuesday night, which it shouldn't have been, right? But then I saw the people's reactions. I heard their feedback, I saw their faces. And not only did I get the benefit of it, but they did too, right? It's a real world scenario. And so, it's the community aspect is, I don't know where I would be without it, right? I'd probably be chasing my tail like a lot of other folks right now.
Well, Peter, to your point, what you said a moment ago about Jay, and so Jay, so I'll tell you, a lot of times we'll get guests on the podcast that are at least give the impression that everything's perfect. They figured everything out. They know all the answers, which, listen, that's just not true for anyone. And I think what Peter said really is impactful. I want everybody to hear that.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I don't know, man. So you broke up there. Sorry about that. I didn't catch you.
This is recording, so it's on the podcast. It's going to be on the internet forever,
Right.
dude. So
Well,
you sure you want to say that?
seriously, listen, like, so some of the questions we've asked you, you're like, well, hey, I'm still figuring it out. Hey, I'm still working on that. Hey, I had a chance. But by the way, some people as a leader of a community would not be open to that because they might have the belief they have to have all the answers and know everything. And that is, so what you point out is so, and I think Peter's right. Like it's part of what's a big part of what's made you successful is your willingness to learn and your coachability and just having this attitude of learning and not becoming egotistical or defensive, but acknowledging where you can improve and things you still need to learn. And like that is the key to success. And I think, I think John Wooden said, like, whenever you reach the point where you think you know it all, like that's when you really start learning. And so like something along those lines. And I think, so that's been super valuable for you to let people see that journey and that you're also giving other people their permission to not have all the answers. But what you realize is like, you know what? And this is something I've been researching recently, man. There's a lot of learning that has become decentralized. We used to have this approach of like the guru on the mountaintop sharing these wisdoms and these nuggets of knowledge. And what I think research is showing now, and there's a shift, is like the growth and the learning when it comes from the community itself is much more powerful, because together, maybe there's not one of us who knows more than the guru, but cumulatively, collectively, we know more, right? Like, so how can all of these minds be wrong versus one person? And so I think you're really kind of on the edge of that, of capitalizing on that and embracing that. And that's, what we're trying to do in Lifeonaires as well. So, I mean, I think that's awesome. And so for you, is the eventual goal like, so you're going to continue with the investments, you help other, by the way, why do you focus on the families? And because I know is that just for, because it's easier to help those kinds of people, or are you drawn more to families than individuals, like for W2 Capitalists, for instance?
Well, when I started the W2 Capitalists in 2018, it was, if you had a heartbeat and you were interested in investing in real estate, come join us. Right. And that was fine. And I didn't really I didn't feel like the community was growing in a direction that I wanted to take. I don't really have an answer for that. It was just more of a kind of a gut feeling, like, and so I hired a coach, or joined a community that's about growing communities. And, the guy who leads that is Vincent Puglisi. I hope I got his last name right, but he challenged me because, man, you got to niche down. Like who can you serve and whatnot. And I was like, well, he goes, go back to a time when you were starting to buy rental properties. What happened? Where were you at that point in time in your life? And I was like, oh, well, we had 3 rentals. Kids were starting to come pretty, frequently. And I was like, and I was working W2. And he goes, so you can talk to those people. And I was like, yeah. He goes, so you're talking to people who are about 10, maybe 15 years behind you currently. I was like, currently in age. We had kids late in life. And I was like, yeah, that's it. He goes, so there's your target audience is, young families. And I can still relate to those because our kids are, the age they are. But it's really when, and it is easier to talk to somebody about expanding their portfolio than getting that first deal done. There's a lot of mental problem, like it's a problem, not mental problems, but there are mental problems, right? Of getting over that hurdle of closing that first deal. And I suck at helping people close their first deal. Like I come to that realization. I was like, I'm just not good at it. But what our community is really good at is helping people grow, right? And exponentially grow. And so just talking, again, surrounding myself with smarter people, like just talking this out. And then you just had these epiphanies of like, this is direction one. So there's part of that. The other part is we already had, folks in our community, and I'm already, having these thoughts of how do I want to grow? Who do I want to grow with? And I'm just looking around at our members, and about 90% of them were married. And then about 70% of those people had kids. And I was like, well, it's no wonder that our conversations not only do we talk about real estate investing, but we talk about spousal alignment, struggle with the kids, talking about legacy, that sort of thing. I was like, let's just line the stars and see what happens next. Right. And so far it's been a great shift, and it's been a very rewarding shift.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Like, I love everything you said, and I think it's super important. And this allows you to really hit multiple areas at the same time with people that are aligned with like life experiences, their situation, what their goals and dreams and aspirations are. So I think that's awesome, dude. I love what you're doing. Where do people find out more about W2 Capitalist?
Yeah, so you can just go to w2capitalist.com, or also what I like to do is give out my cell phone number, because
Yeah, man.
I know that like 1% of like the serious people who would actually take action are going to actually do something. So just text me 205-249-0248. That is my cell. If you call me, you're going to go to voicemail, because I don't answer it unless you're programmed in my phone. And my voicemail is going to tell you to send me a text. Like, that's like, hey, I'm not answering. And if you leave me a voicemail, chances are it's going to be 2 weeks before I listen to it anyway. So just hang up and send me a text. But 205-249-0248.
Love it. Well, Jay, thanks for everything you do, man. And I love the mission that you're on and helping people, and look forward to see what happens from here, man. I'm sure our paths will be crossing continuously.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And see, I love the dynamic that you and Peter have here. This is good. This is good. It's always ball busting one another.
Yeah, right.
There is the eye candy, and then there is, I don't know what else there is. I mean,
So which one are you, Peter? I'm not really sure, actually.
the eye candy, I don't know what you
He
are.
was pointing to himself. So I don't.
That's right. I mean, see, Jay, pay attention.
I don't know what to do with this guy. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dude, I mean, he has his growth friends and his nope friends. I don't know where you fall, bro. I'm not sure. I just gotta be honest with you. You could be like teeter on the fence there.
No, I'm in a completely different category. I'm category number 3,
Which is what?
the friend.
The what?
The capital THE, the friend.
The friend.
That should be it.
All right.
You
Well,
see?
yeah,
I can think on my feet.
even have
It's
anything to say
okay.
to that right now. Like, I'll have to think on that one. Like, I'll have to ponder. But dude, what a great exercise. Seriously. Like, look at the people you surround yourself with. Like, he has a cool story, man. And I'll tell you, like, a lot of people kind of have to be pushed out of their job, like, before they, it's just, they're not ready yet. They're kind of, biting and scratching and clawing to stay on there. But this is kind of funny with Lifeonaires, man. This has happened, and you've seen it happen where, well, someone will get laid off or fired or whatever, and we're like, congratulations, and they're like, what?
Celebrating.
We're like, what? Like, I just got fired. We're like, we know. This is, congratulations. And so, like, it's cool, but like, I think for him, the biggest realization of couple things. Number one is he set up his business in a way that allows him to be remote, which is super cool. That's a big thing, I think, for a lot of people, to be able to travel. And even if he wasn't traveling, like, the flexibility and freedom that he and his wife can experience with the homeschooling and these other things, like, is pretty awesome. Like, that's pretty cool. And so you have that. And then the cool thing tying it into the community is that now he recognized his ability to grow was enhanced significantly by being around these other people, right?
Right. And I think that's an important aspect, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I didn't do that. I was just by myself, and people were telling me I need a coach and I need to mastermind. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. It's all good and dandy, but that's not for me. I don't have time, or whatever the excuses we have. And I think this is one of the big secrets to success, because when you surround yourself with those people, when you go and, like he talked about this role playing that he did, that is a huge impact to be able to help you grow and have those kinds of conversations. And you can have a role play by yourself. I mean, you could, I guess, and some people do. And then we look at them and they're crazy, because they're talking to themselves. But outside of that, you can't do role playing by yourself. So the community needs to be there, and especially needs to be the right community. And what does that mean? That means that when you did that exercise, where you grow people, right? You surround yourself with people who you want to emulate. You want to, like, not only just the business, because I think Lifeonaires, that's what we're good at here, is that it's not only just, this person is really successful at business, but are they successful in their marriage? Are they successful as a parent? Are they successful in a grand scheme of their life? And that's who I want to surround myself with.
Yeah.
right? Because we've seen people who are successful in business and their marriage is falling apart. Well, if that's you, if you want to do that, go for it. But if that's not the case, you need to have those kinds of people around you. And that's when you start to operate in a different way, because they'll challenge you, or they'll, when you're feeling down, they'll pick you up, right? And I think the other aspect that I've gotten out of this particular call is this guy's pretty humble. And
Yeah, I was gonna mention
think
that.
being a leader in that community, I think it helps him. And it's not like, it's detrimental. I think it's actually really impactful for him to be able to grow, because that humbleness allows him to go and ask questions, allows him to ask questions to help him grow, right? Allows him to go and be that person who's being the role play, the leader of the community, right? And that's the kind of character I think that helps people grow to be more successful, because
It gives people permission, right?
right. Yeah. Gives people permission to be able to step up, but also gives people permission to be able to go and say, I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know the answer to this. Right?
Right. Right.
I don't know
And
listen, I've literally had a coaching call today with one of my students, and I said, I don't know the answer to that.
Was the question like, what's 4 + 4?
Yes. Okay.
If so, it's totally
got one
justified.
on me. All right, good.
So, but dude, listen. So that's at a key point. Like, it's not just the community, but it's your willingness within the community to kind of acknowledge where you can grow and be humble enough to show places that you need to improve, or challenges that you're having. Because, like, listen, the best group in the world, unless you let them know what's going on, isn't going to be able to help you to its fullest potential unless they understand what the challenges are. And so it's kind of a merger of those two that I think is, has made him successful, and certainly has made a lot of other people successful as well. So listen, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. As always, we just ask a small favor. The way we reach people, the way our community can grow, and the way we can impact more lives is by sharing this. And so take a moment to share this, give us a like, a thumbs up, a rating. And that way more people can find us and we can impact more lives together. This isn't just us, this is you too. Together we can change the world and help everyone move towards their vision and live a better life. All right, we will see you next week, everyone. Take care.